Mayor's proposed FY25 budget, and we have allotted up to an hour to hear from Invest Atlanta. There is no corresponding budget data in the actual budget book, but we're going to be working off these handouts. So, Doctor, if you're ready, introduce us to your staff and take it away.
Of course. Thank you so much. Well, good morning, everyone. Again, Dr. Eloise Clementich, proud president and CEO at Invest Atlanta, and I have my amazing team with me. I have Nino Chipetta, who is the CFO of Invest Atlanta, and Noah Downer, who's Senior VP for Economic Development. So I'd like to just start off by saying thank you to this council, for your continual support in the city of Atlanta and supporting overall economic development efforts. Our goal at Invest Atlanta and our mission is to ensure that we are the most competitive city, not in the nation, but in the world. And to do this, we are taking very proactive strategies to really dive into new and different policies that can really support our growth as a city and equitable growth so that all ships can rise. So we start off with our mission, which is make us most economic competitive, but also supported by the city and the mayor's One City, One Bright Future. Again, what are we doing to try to ensure that everyone is being supported and have opportunities for their entrepreneurship ventures to be successful in the city? So the mayor has 4 specific pillars. We fall into several of those, from a city of opportunity and a city built on future. And you can see a breakdown into how we specifically support the mayor and the city on these specific initiatives. Overall, Invest Atlanta for 2023, we had a great year. We were able to invest ourselves, so this is the entirety of Invest Atlanta, over $234 million in Invest Atlanta investment. What we then do is, this is direct funding that we put in. So if we look at the leverage amount, that's money that we're able to support through other projects, so that's augmented. So we were able to support the leveraging of $1 billion. So total investment as a result of our investment and our projects investments in the city was $1.2 billion over 2023. The number that I watch very closely is the $2.3 billion for economic impact. This is going to help us look at direct, indirect, and induce. So what does the money do in terms of impacting our community? And that's the $2.3 billion. I've also included a map just so you can see a visual. We've talked very extensively in this chamber about our strategy to impact communities that are underserved. We are continuing to do that, and we have been dedicated to that. And you'll see the yellow, orange, and red parts of the city are underserved, and this is based on statistics of about 23 different parameters that we look at. And you'll see the majority of our funding is hitting the areas that we wanted to throughout the city. So again, very committed to our strategy of serving our underserved communities, and you see it as in terms of our results. I'd like to highlight for those that are watching this presentation, Invest Atlanta is very unique when you look at us as an entity nationally. Most cities have an economic development arm and a separate community development arm. It's very rare. I've only known about 3 other cities that actually combine both under one house. I think by us being able to do it, it really has helped us as a city leverage these tools, because the one tool is never enough. You really need to leverage or braid. We don't mix them. We braid the resources that we have together to support the end goal, which is community impact. I'd like to thank this council again for their approval, or what is before you is a proposal of $3.5 million. It's specifically only to help the economic development side of the house, which is your business attraction, your business retention, our small business focus, our grocery and food access, our tech and innovation, and our international effort. The community development we're going to separate out because that is funded through some of the efforts that we do internal. So this presentation today will only focus on the economic development side of the house. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Senior VP, Noah Downer, to talk a little bit more specifics about what he's doing in his department and who's part of his team. Noah?
Good morning, and thank you, Dr. Klementich. As mentioned, my name is Noah Downer. I'm the Senior Vice President of Economic Development, and I have the amazing pleasure to lead this team of dedicated professionals who wake up every single day driving equitable business growth for businesses of all sizes through a toolkit that helps businesses be created in Atlanta, expand in Atlanta, or move to Atlanta. I did want to highlight a couple of folks here on this screen just to let you know, based on the previous map, about their areas of responsibility. On the top right, we have Cynthia Freeman. She is our Assistant Director for Small Business Finance. She leads the 13 unique small business lending programs that we have. In the middle on the second row is Lori Prickett. Lori leads most of our cluster strategies. So you will see our grocery and food access under her, our international access, in particular with foreign direct investment, as well as tech and innovation. And then immediately next to Lori on that screen is Alan Peterson. And Dr. Alan Peterson drives our small business empowerment programs, the Wells Fargo Open for Business program, our opportunity zones, and then your typical business attraction and incentive strategies. So this next slide here is where you can find us. So of course, we're located at 133 Peachtree Street, but this map here shows the access points where businesses of all sizes across the city of Atlanta can engage with our team. So council has asked us to be more visible in our communities, to be able to meet the businesses where they are at the time and location of their convenience. So we do have these 5 locations that are staffed by the members that were on the previous slide on the screen. And last year, we were able to engage with 2,000 small businesses via consultations or participations in our program. We did 23 webinars, we did 20 workshops at these hubs, and hosted 7 business mixers and hundreds of hours of small business consultation. In terms of today's presentation, I first wanted to start out with the team and where we are. I'll then go into some highlights from 2023. And the numbers here really speak for themselves. 80% Black-owned businesses, nearly 40% of women-owned businesses, and 40% of the businesses were located in those disinvested neighborhoods that Dr. Klementich shared earlier in that map. So you see there 843 businesses. This is unique businesses that participated in one of our cohort programs or our technical assistance programs or received funding from us. And then an additional 1,000 small businesses that we engaged with via those consultations that I mentioned on the previous slide. What's really unique here is you can see that it's $9 million in direct funding into those small businesses. So a little bit more than $6 million of that is via our small business loans program and $3 million in terms of grants. And we'll cover those a little bit later in the presentation. But very impactful here in terms of the hours of no-cost business assistance that we also have been able to provide. I then also wanted to highlight our Wells Fargo Open for Business program. This is a 5-part program that has really been critical to our success because it continues to help minority-owned businesses attain or improve the assets that they have, like real estate, that we know can really drive long-term wealth-building opportunities. This is a $20 million program. We are actively spending down the dollars, but I did want you all to know that this was a highly competitive process where only 5 cities across the United States were ultimately selected to be able to drive these programs. And similar to a couple of slides ago, the numbers also will speak to themselves, but I did want to highlight one story of a small business because I think it's really interesting for you all, not just to see the numbers, but also to hear some of the impact from the businesses. So last week we were at an event. We had a technology business that came up to me and they said, Noah, within the last 30 days, we got our loan and it has changed our life. I've now been able to sleep at night. I can make payroll. I can pay myself dollars. And most importantly, by the end of the year, I'll be able to hire even more individuals. This is a business that, if it weren't for our funding, would more than likely have closed. And so we have dozens of stories like that. We go out every month into the community and visit with a small business. We'd be happy to have you join us on those small business visits that we do. I mentioned earlier about the 13 unique loan programs that are offered and the $6.1 million. That's triple the number from 2021 and up from 30 from last year. And this year, we're on target to eclipse 2020, which was actually an outlier. So the number that you see there in 2020, our underwriting because of COVID and CARES dollar, the focus was just get folks money that they needed urgently. But we're very excited about that with last year with 57 loans out into the neighborhoods. I mentioned grant funding. I'll highlight one of the grants that we administered last year. This is the Creative Industry Grant Fund. We supported nearly 130 small businesses, creative entrepreneurs, and independent artists. This was an incredibly popular program with more than 850 applicants, including folks who weren't from the city of Atlanta, folks as far as Savannah trying to gain access. And of course, our programs, only City of Atlanta-based businesses with a business license are eligible. But very proud to administer that program. The last three slides that I'll go through before handing it off to our CFO, this one talks about one of the core tenets that we have related to driving job creation. And so our pipeline for business attraction as well as business retention and expansion continues to be strong. There's 80+ projects in that pipeline. We track 7 different clusters. The top 3 that we see as far as wanting to move to the city or expand to the city are tech industry, the manufacturing industry, and then clean industry. And I wanted to also let you know that while the pipeline continues to be strong, there has been a little bit of a change in the size of the projects. So Invest Atlanta from 5 or 10 years ago, you would have saw a lot more headquarters relocations into the city. Because of the current economic environment, the scope has changed. So we're seeing a lot more 50-person projects, 100-person projects, and no longer really the 1,000-person that at least happened before in the past. And so we're seeing that a lot of these businesses are preferring to open up in co-working locations or even just much smaller footprint, 10,000 square foot, as opposed to your 100,000 square foot. But one of the things I also wanted to mention here was just this week that Site Selection Magazine, which is the gold standard in economic development for business attraction, recognized the Invest Atlanta team for our contributions to investment and job creation. So it's a qualitative review and essentially says based on number of projects and how you coordinate with the ecosystem, you're a superlative economic development agency. The last slides that I'll go through is one that I'm incredibly proud to talk about, is grocery. So as you recall, last year we presented that the Invest Atlanta team would be focused on grocery and food access. This is our current pipeline. So you can see that there are more than 100 projects that my team is working on a 4-part strategy. That 4-part strategy is to attract grocery stores, it's to retain, improve, and expand neighborhood markets, it's to support innovative food models, and then the 4th one is around driving systems, policy, and environment change. So more than 100 projects in our priority neighborhoods. And maybe I'll highlight a couple of the wins from this last year, including a $3 million investment from the Reinvestment Fund. It was, again, another competitive application process with a healthy food financing initiative in the U.S. Department of Agriculture that we're able to receive to be able to drive technical assistance, low interest loans, as well as commercial property improvement grant. But very excited about this month with the launch of our tailored technical assistance for grocery, as well as our commercial property improvement grant. And then, of course, last Friday, we celebrated the grand opening of the Gooder Community Center at iVillage. This is a unique opportunity for Gooder to come in to help 300 families a month with food insecurity, but then also provide wraparound services. We partnered with a banking partner to support with small business support, as well as financial literacy, as well as several healthcare partners, including the Grady Health Foundation, the American Heart Association, Morehouse School of Medicine to help screenings and the like. But as well as one other investment that we're incredibly excited about is Nourish and Bloom. So Nourish and Bloom received an Economic Opportunity Fund grant from us to be able to open up shipping containers inside different neighborhoods, including over here in districts 11 and in 12. Very excited about that, because what our approach in grocery is that we're going to try everything. We're going to try to be as innovative as possible. We recognize that there are systemic challenges and there's economics that sometimes might not make sense for the grocery stores, but that's okay. That's why we have an RFP that's out there for a municipally funded grocery store. We've recently completed an RFI. We're trying these innovative food access models like Nourish and Bloom. And with that, I believe it's now time for Nino Chiappetta.
Noah, this next slide shows our budget trend, which is 3.5 million this year, which is consistent with 3 of the last 4 years. The dip in 2024 was primarily due to some of the ED initiatives being funded by the Wells Fargo Open for Business program, which ends in 2024. It also shows our headcount breakdown by category. The next slide shows an increase in headcount from 21 to 24 and an increase in funding of 500,000 related to the fiscal 25 initiatives to be discussed by Dr. Klementich and Mr. Downer in slides 19 and 20. And this slide shows a breakdown of operations by major category, including business attraction, retention, and small business support. So Noah, I'll hand it back over to Noah, and he'll discuss the next slide, which includes the fiscal year 25 priorities.
So obviously I got excited with grocery and fresh food access and went ahead and let you know about the 4-part strategy that we have. We will continue to focus on attracting grocery stores, driving enhancements for our neighborhood markets, and supporting innovative models. We are actively out. We have site selection decks of areas that we know have sites that are available for grocery store operators. We're actively out pitching those at conferences like the ICSC conference and to known developers who do grocery anchored development across the city. I think it's more important to then hand it over to Dr. Klementich to talk a little bit deeper about other priorities for the year.
So where are we headed? And thank you, Noah and Nino. Invest Atlanta is going to continue its focus on small business. Small business is at the heart of who we are, and that means we will finish out our Wells Fargo program, which ends up in 2024, and that, as Noah highlighted, provides us with loans and technical assistance, so we're going to continue to drive that. We want to continue to drive the engagement in our hubs. These have been successful. Businesses are coming. They find it easier to access us. We need to be as accessible as possible. We will also continue to focus on our disinvested neighborhoods, putting in as much effort and programming as we can. In terms of the 5 clusters that Noah talked about, really we are in line with the mayor's goal to make us a top 5 tech hub. And so we're working very closely with Donnie Beamer on how we can support the innovation ecosystem and entrepreneurship in the city. Through the efforts of Noah's team and Lori, we continue to work on foreign direct investment. This has been a place for us to bring in new investment into the city. So we've been looking at trips to potentially London. We've been to London, going to Ireland, to continue to support and leverage the state effort of Georgia, but also to focus in on the city. We are keenly focused on World Cup. This is going to be a great opportunity for us to be able to highlight our businesses. So the mayor's often said we want to ensure that World Cup happens with our businesses, not to our businesses. So we are ensuring and really walking corridors to ensure businesses are ready with facade, maybe different language, maybe culture experiences. So really trying to engage businesses to be prepared and to leverage and to benefit from all that investment that will be coming. We respect and understand this is a one-time event. There'll be several games, but one-time event that comes to the city. But how do we leverage this to rally individuals around businesses and then to have that long-term impact once the games go? So we're really excited about what that potential can be. We will continue on our technical assistance. We have found that very, very helpful. People will always say, Eloisa, the funding is great, we love it, but that long-term impact comes from technical assistance. How are you ensuring that your finances are in order, your website's in order, so that you can gain more sales through those mechanisms like your website? The Opportunity Zone is a state benefit that many of our businesses still do not leverage. So this has no impact to the city's budget, but this provides $3,500 benefit to business for every employee that they hire. If you're in the zone, you automatically get it. What we realized is we've actually have someone calling businesses now and saying, do you realize you're in the zone? You should be getting this incentive. And so this has really been helpful for a lot of our small businesses. And with that, I'd like to, again, thank you, Council, for your trust in Invest Atlanta. We will continue to be as responsive as possible and see everything we can do to ensure our businesses continue to grow in our city. And with that, Chair, I'd like to open it up to any questions anyone may have.
All right, thank you. Ms. Overstreet.
Good morning. Thank you all so much for presenting for budget season. I do have a few questions. On slide 5, this is the slide that has the Invest Atlanta impact for 2023.
Okay.
For the year 2020, the 23 highlights. And I think I've asked this before, but when you put all of these dots together on top of one another like this, the job creation programs, the small business programs, the neighborhood investment programs, and the housing programs, I can't tell, they're just all washed out and muddled together. I need more information about numbers and data, especially in my district. So that I can see how this $1.2 billion of total capital investment and $1.03 billion of leverage capital investment and $2.3 billion in total economic impact, what that looks like in the underserved areas. I don't know how much of this is housing program and where that is specifically. I can't tell what neighborhood investment programs people actually were able to take advantage of. I really just need a better snapshot so that I can have a clearer view of what's actually taking place in Southwest Atlanta. Because I will say that this is year 7 of me actively, diligently trying to get investment in Southwest Atlanta and development. And I've narrowed it all the way down to, I need a grocery store. And I know you're highlighting that you're prioritizing grocery, but this is year 7. And now Campbellton Road from Delow going west all the way to county line, we still don't have one. And I know that there has to be a good reason why the city doesn't have a grocery store on Campbellton Road, a major corridor where we've all decided that we actually want MARTA to put in BRT, and we still don't have a grocery store. So I really need to have more information about where all of these plans and all of this investment, and I saw the other, let me see what, this is slide 9, where we're talking about small businesses assisted, 853 of those. What does that assistance look like? $9 million in direct investment in small business programs. How much of that was actually in Southwest Atlanta? I mean, I'm not seeing it. And I really do want to, because I get calls all the time with people begging me for help. And so where you get your 100 is responsiveness. You answer me back really quickly. And when I put you in contact with the business owners that actually know to contact me, you do contact them back. But then I need feedback. I want to know what else can we do to help those that just are floundering? And how do we get a grocery store on Campbellton Road? Because I've tried it all. I'm even the one that came up with the idea for the municipal market on Campbellton Road. I've traveled to Trilith with you to look at Nourish and Bloom. If we get one, I need 4 or 5 of those because that may be equal to one for that 5-mile stretch on Campbellton Road.
So let me go breakdown. So the first question was, would you like the information per data? I'm happy to provide that to you. I'll break it down per year. I think I submitted this to each of your council districts, but to your point, it had 2021 to 2023. I'll send you the breakdown so you can clearly see. Right. I'm like on the verge of finally being able to address your grocery store issue or concern. And we are taking an item to the board this month. And at this point, I can't talk about it, but I will go make an appointment with you. And I think we are very excited that I will finally be able to say yes to you. So I will make an appointment with you to brief you on that. But I'm really excited about where we are, and action will be taken at the Invest Atlanta board this month, which is next week. So I'll update you. The next is, I will also get you the breakdown on the 9 million, how much of that was in Southwest. And I also want to thank you for the opportunity because of your email, council member has Smart Streets program on Cascade. That you're doing?
The Complete Streets.
Complete Street, sorry. The Complete Street program off of Cascade. A couple businesses reached out to you and asked for support. So that quickly got our team thinking about this. So because of your email, we have now reached out to Commissioner Kavanaugh. We are coordinating now. We will be, to your point, walking up corridors. If we know that a street is going to be impacted, we're going to come in early and we're going to walk up and down the corridor and tell businesses this is the technical assistance that you have available. We are going to declare it an economic shock area, similar to what we did, council member, for the bridge, so that then we can offer them loans. These loans, I wish I had grants, but I have loans, and are 6%, 6-month deferment, less than 3% interest to really help augment them. So we're really trying to mobilize. But based on your email, I want you to know that we took it very proactive, and now we're coordinating with the commissioner's office and the mayor's office to actually be proactive. And to your point, reach out to businesses before they call you.
I call them street teams.
Okay, street teams.
Yeah.
And our meeting with the Cascade Business Alliance is, I think, on the 14th. So we already set up that meeting. We already pulled loan recipients in that area, and I'm going to propose that we also provide a deferment to any loan recipient in that area. From a quick look, it's two folks. But we then would love to partner with you on an event before the end of the month, talking about the technical assistance that's available for those businesses. So marketing, finance, strategy, that's all no cost to the businesses. And do that in conjunction with the Business Association. It's really a model that we followed with Councilmember Juan
For Cheshire Bridge.
in Cheshire Bridge.
Got it.
And so we're now going to do that proactively. So it's not just Cascade. We'll also look where there are other significant infrastructure investments so that we can provide the relief with the tools that we have to the small businesses. Because it goes back to the example that I provided earlier, which is if it weren't for our tool, that one business that talked to me last week would have closed. So how can we find more of those businesses? Right. How can we keep sustaining them as long as possible so they can get past whatever challenge they're faced in the immediate term?
Okay. So I'll just stay tuned. But I'm sure you all hear me loud and clear. I mean, I've been beating this drum.
I know,
sure.
we have a creative solution. I hope it will address it.
Okay.
I'll call you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Dr. Clementich and team. I think I may have just crashed your website. I was trying to get information. I know that the investment from the city is 3.5 million, but what is your overall, not including the community development, like the TAD funding, what is your overall agency budget? 15?
Is your light on? No? I mean, you know, okay.
Yes, 15.
15 million. Okay, so we represent 3.5. Okay, that's helpful. I want to just first off open by thanking y'all for all the innovation and the thoughtfulness and the outreach you did for Cheshire businesses when the bridge went down. I thought what y'all came together in terms of with the packages and the offerings just made a lot of sense and felt very customized and responsive to what the businesses were asking for. So I appreciate that. I don't know how many ultimately took advantage of it or are participating with y'all, but the feedback, just so y'all know, from the community was very positive and appreciative. I want to kind of talk more just wonky a little bit. You talked a lot about your strategies going forward and your thought process. Right now, it feels like we're kind of maybe at an inflection point in terms of overall economy and market. You know, we've got a situation where we've got inflation that hopefully should start coming down or has started coming down and hopefully will ease. Interest rates that are high but anticipated to start coming down as well. What that means, a job market that's really tight. So wages seem to be going up. Office space vacancies that are high. However, residential rental and home prices high and really tight as well. So crystal ball time. So here's where we're at, and your strategy is X, Y, and Z in terms of retention versus attraction mix, and then direct funding versus technical assistance mix. So let's fast forward over to the next fiscal year, where, you know, if we're hearing inflation, again, should be coming down, interest rates should be coming down. The office space situation is going to continue as well as the rent situation. What do you think, what would you say will be your shift in levers, the ones I mentioned, as those changes start coming on? Big question, I know.
Yeah. Once we see businesses, especially some of the big corporate relocations, because that's where Atlanta's really been successful. Once we get clarity on this work from home, what percentage, how many days I'm coming in the office, how much space, because I still think people are still trying to figure out, are we all coming in? No, I'm not coming in. Yes, I am. And then they make decisions and then they lose employees.
Yeah.
I think once that gets clarity, then you're going to see a lot of businesses now say, okay, I have the confidence to bring people back in and start taking up space. I think that is a matter of time. Okay. How much time? I wish I could know, but I do think that commercial real estate is seeing that a shift, right? Some businesses who had said, we are going to be working from home all the time, has now said, no, come back to the office. So I think it's just a matter of time, because it is great for the flexibility to be able to work from home, but you really do, or what what I even see, you miss the camaraderie, the working. Oh, I saw you, I forgot to mention. So I think businesses are going to come back. So I think once we get more clarity there, I think you're going to see businesses want to take more investment in dollars and get out of the co-working space, the big ones, into their own location and address some of this. Now, in downtown, I see that probably happening much easier in Midtown, but downtown's going to need a lot of focus to get that. And I think that's why we're so committed to downtown with 2 Peachtree, for example, and in terms of, and we have to with all the activity that's coming with World Cup.
So that's interesting, because I guess it's almost a shift away. I mean, obviously you'll keep your focus on retention and attraction, but it's almost like you think there'll be an opportunity for expansion within existing businesses that are bringing folks back into the office, and obviously the reconfiguration or the flipping of those spaces. Okay, that's interesting.
I do think so. Go ahead, Norm.
I was going to say the pipeline shows that. If you look at this quarter that we're in today, we're actually seeing 300-person projects, 500-person projects. There was 1,000-person, which was Price Picks, that announced within the last 30 or so days. So it's like the spigot has turned on, whereas last year was completely off.
Right.
So it's back. And so what I would say is that during COVID, we refocused to small business and retention and expansion. And so it's not like we've I could foresee a future where you see even more focus on small business and technical assistance and expansion.
Okay. That's I appreciate that. I hadn't thought about that, but it makes sense. I just want us to, I mean, it does feel like a lot of things are in flux right now, and I'm just curious as to what y'all were thinking. And
Which is why we mentioned too the FDI, because we're seeing a lot more interest from our international businesses back into, like they're now coming back, fintech, health IT, these industries, we're getting calls. And we just see it by the number of calls in the pipeline. Now, are they big projects? No, I would love them to be bigger, but it's starting to turn. Like people are starting to turn. How important?
25% of the pipeline is international, and the vast majority are under 10 employees. International typically starts small and then expand within a year or 2 years. So they're typically on our list to continue to watch.
that was a surprise to me that and it makes sense, obviously, with the World Cup, but in terms of the focus on foreign investment and foreign opportunities. But it's helpful that y'all just added in that context that you're already seeing a little bit of an uptick in interest as well.
And last thing I'll just add to foreign direct investment, these international companies and these relationships take time. So you never want to step away, even though they're not coming right away during COVID. We never try to lose that relationship building. So when they're ready, it's easy to call to us.
My last question is one that Council President is putting me up to. The one this slide that has can someone pronounce the middle one?
Wadata. We're
Just
actually completing a site visit at this time. Wadata.
Okay, I just wanted you to say it. Thank you.
The team is actually doing a site visit with them as we speak.
And they make great smoothies.
And thank you so much, Dr. Clemente, for not only meeting with my students a few weeks ago, but also for this presentation. I was going through it as much as I can, and I was stuck on a grocery store. And listening to Councilmember Overstreet, understanding the fight, how long it's been going, to live in District 12 for 37 years, only having one grocery store, third largest landmass in the entire city of Atlanta. And I was going through because they told me rooftops is what grocery stores count. We got the most rooftops coming up. Just thinking about development, you got Browns Mill Village, which nationally is seen as one of the top hood projects in America. You have $500,000 houses coming up on the Broadlands, which is walking distance from the Brown Mills Village. $800,000 houses on Tonawanda, which is walking distance from Brown Mills Village. When you think about the other side, another part of my district, which is Calverton Road, she talked about a 5-mile stretch. The other 2-mile stretch is District 12. There's no grocery store in that area. Tyler Perry Studios is right there. And so when we talk about the resources, the things that are coming into my district, we're getting packed with houses. We're getting the density. We got it. It's here. We got the density. We got the Atlanta Braves, in which we just passed legislation. We just put in legislation over here yesterday for the Hank Aaron Baseball Academy. So that's happening. That's going to be on Jonesboro Road, right in walking distance of all of this development. What people are asking me for is for a grocery store. They're asking for a shopping center. We don't have one shopping center in the entire district. We got Tyler Perry Studios. We have the Lakewood Amphitheater. We have all of the job centers, but we don't have a place to eat. We have the Atlanta Beltline, in which we're going to put up a Nourish and Bloom. And I know I found out more about this online than I do from anyone else, because Nourish and Bloom, they post a lot of this stuff. And so my community now will know that Nourish and Bloom will be coming to Pittsburgh Yard and opening July 2024, because that's on the Nourish and Bloom site. But that's the community, what they're putting up. We can put 3 of those right there and a grocery store. We want what other people have in the city of Atlanta. We've accepted the density. We've embraced the density. We love the density. It's been affordable. You've truly done it the right way in our area. You didn't even have to displace anyone to do it. But now it's time to bring us something to eat. You got Pryor Road, which the lawsuit is up with Integral. What happened to the food that was supposed to be on the other side of Pryor Road? When you have Jonesboro Road, when you have Jonesboro Road, we're partnered with the city of Forest Park and Conley. They've brought in food places. They've brought in banks. they're building. We're partnered on the other side of my district on Cleveland Avenue with Hateville and the city of East Point. They've gotten 2 new banks. They've gotten a Walmart right there. They've built up shopping centers right in there the moment you step out of the city of Atlanta. If you go the other way in my district to the city of Hateville, they have restaurants lined up the St. Metropolitan Parkway. When it turns into East Point, it turns into a different world. And so I'm asking, what do I have to do, or what can we do to get the same kind of resources?
I'll tell you, we, as Councilmember Overstreet knows, we very much so market these areas when we go to conferences to ICSC. And what we tried to do is do what you just did, which is say, because the way the grocers will make their decision, they run a CoStar report, they run the statistic analysis that they can find online. But a lot of these projects are coming online, so they're not, the grocers don't know. So we've mapped them so they can see them to get their interest. We will continue that as one of our focus areas, but to Noah's point, what we have is we've expanded it because we are asking grocers to make decisions to come, and they're not yet. So the mayor's been very clear to us, if you're not gonna do it, then we're gonna do it. And so you're gonna see a shift now in us being much more proactive in certain areas, and I'll be able to update both of you on how we are not only trying the innovative model, which is the Nourish and Bloom, but also figuring how can we take more proactive role, leveraging the municipal market. Noah, did I miss anything of the strategy?
No, I don't think you missed anything. A part of our analysis is conducting a retail analysis. It's putting together a package that ultimately highlights the community, the upcoming investments. We partner with Department of Planning here. We pull housing permit data, commercial permit data, because we're actively out trying to tell the story of the neighborhoods so we can capture that investment. I think what could be a good next step is in the next couple of weeks to sit down to review what we have cataloged as far as investments coming in the community, and if there's something that we're missing from that, to add to it so we can add to the storybook, because we are actively out. We'll be at ICSC later this month, and we have a pitch deck that says these are our neighborhoods. This is the core information that you need to know, and we're trying to get their interest. But sometimes, to Dr. Gilmentich's point, they're not biting on it just yet. And so that's why we become creative with saying, cool, the demographics may not show the story today, but look what's coming in the next 2 to 3 years, and get in today while land costs are still low.
And I'll say what we've done in my office is fight to get resources ASAP. What I mean by that is the Hank Aaron Academy had been a pipe dream forever for our district. The Beltline on the south side was the other way. They were building the other side. What we did, we worked with the Atlanta Beltline ourselves, our office did. And we were able to see them now focus their attention as they work with the administration. They then worked the administration talking about priorities, and they finished the south side already. We need our Punt City Market at Pittsburgh Yards. We have the space, we have the pads already for it. We understand that Nourish and Bloom is coming, but that's not big enough.
Agreed.
It's not big enough for that community. Another thing I want to talk about, and we work with MARTA. We've been able to fight with MARTA, and that's coming first. MARTA ART on Cleveland Avenue and Metropolitan, that's a huge deal. We've also been able to fight, that's the Beltline, MARTA, and the Hank Aaron Baseball Academy, so those are huge attractions. We're 5 minutes from the Atlanta airport, 5 minutes from downtown. We sit in the perfect situation, which is why all of the movie theaters are there. We have West End Production, Tyler Perry Studios, as well as Screen on the Gym sitting right in my district. 0 grocery stores. But as soon as you step outside of the district, and the other cities don't have the resources to go and attract businesses like us, because I go to their city council meetings. No one's ever saying, I'm going over to Europe to study some stuff. No one is ever saying, I'm going to a different state. But the attractions are coming to them because they're 5 minutes from their airport, 5 minutes from downtown, similar to Porsche. Porsche is in District 12 because of the location. So how can I not have a shopping center? How can I not have a grocery store? And I've been very adamant about the things that I needed. I think we only meet about Very simple things. I've said grocery store since day one because I know we need one. But now I want a shopping center and a grocery store because we got everything else there. And the people of the community want new things when you bring in new people. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. We've been joined by Ms. Boone. I've got a couple questions, and I'll start off with one of today's themes, which is grocery stores, or lack thereof. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always been under the impression that when it comes to deciding whether or not to open a new store, it's a very elegant, rigid formula that's applied. You draw a concentric circle, you look at how many people are there and what their average annual income is, period, full stop. So for you to get investors to think a little bit differently, I mean, what tools do you have? I mean, there's a lot at stake. You know, how do you beat the odds?
So the first thing we try to do is, when in the map, we try to show investment that's coming. And so we'll show these are the projects, you're in your data, your disposable income, you don't see that right now because these are future residents that are coming. We'll show the city's investment, so the new police station, a new library, whatever we can do, we pull it. So to tell the story much larger, that will be important. The second thing we've done is why we've done the Nourish and Bloom is we want to show the demand. So we've had a conversation with Nourish and Bloom. They can't share us the information about who is actually purchasing, but we want to know how much sales are you making. Then what I'm going to do is we're going to take those to some of our bigger grocery chains and show them, look, this store is selling this much. You're missing out on an opportunity. It's not coming up in your numbers, but there is a need here. The second thing is we're going to pull leakage reports. These reports show where does an individual live and where are they going? So sometimes they're traveling to other parts of the city to go to the Kroger's, to go to the Trader Joe's. So we'll do these types of maps to say if they had a grocer closer to them, they would probably shop there. So it really is to create a relationship with these individuals that are making the decisions and start painting the picture. Because if I don't do it, they're not going to do it. So we have to do that. And we have been in trying to push it. But even then, we've noticed they're very leery. They're like, yeah, we know it's coming out, Lisa, but it's still too early. So that's why we've now gone to this new model, which is, okay, if you're not going to do it, we're going to do it. And that's what I'll have to share with all of you next week. And it's Invest Atlanta with the mayor and your help, really saying, okay, if you're not coming in, we're coming in, and we'll prove it to you.
I'll be curious to see what that looks like. There's a reference to good jobs in your presentation. How do you define that?
Good jobs are jobs that pay between $40,000 and $80,000 and include healthcare benefits.
Okay. So we're in a housing crunch. Fewer and fewer people seem willing to put the for sale sign up, which leads to a whole bunch of other problems. Are the programs, how does that environment affect the programs you offer to try to improve that situation for prospective homeowners?
So for prospective homeowners in terms of their salary?
Well, getting into a home.
Yeah, so that's why we've been, at first, I don't know if you remember, when we first started to present, we really tracked jobs. And what we found as a result of our economic mobility strategy was if we really want to help move the needle for those that can't afford it, let's try to really focus on that good job. So that's why we've pulled that number out. And the goal is to track more of those good jobs so that individuals could then earn enough money to buy a home in the city. That's the direct link that we were trying to do. Now, how do I promote other people from selling their home? That's a little bit harder, but the reality is how do I get more good jobs in the city so people can afford to buy a home?
And my last question is around hearing more about your balance between retention, attraction, what I would refer to as defense versus offense. You know, how do those scales balance between trying to, keep company A versus trying to bring in company B?
What would be the percentage breakdown of current time?
Well, I mean, you can't be all things to all people.
Correct.
You have very limited dollars spend on unlimited needs. So I'm just curious, I mean, you hear a lot from companies coming to you as athletes do today saying, hey, we got a great offer to move to Charlotte. What are you going to do for us? Versus going to Charlotte and saying, hey, come to Atlanta.
So I would say little feedback from companies saying I'm leaving the marketplace. I would say what we hear more often is cost pressure in terms of the rent that they're leasing and perhaps needing to move to different spaces within the city. But that's where we have our toolkit to be able to help those businesses stay engaged and stay in those communities. That's where an opportunity zone becomes incredibly impactful. If you have a business of 50 folks, that's $1 million in state tax credits. It's fairly significant.
If you look at terms of employees, and I'm just looking really quickly, you have about 2 employees that work with their foreign direct investment and attraction solely.
Correct.
The other 10, well, Noah does everything, but the other 9 are small business expansion, retention programs. So I would say we're leaning heavier on retention and expansion rather than attraction, just in terms of time. Now, do we pull in people's time if we need it? Yes, of course we will. But if you just look at the staff, and our focus has really been right now about retention and growth of our current businesses in the city.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Overstreet, and then we are getting close to our noontime break.
I'm just going to circle back because I heard a couple comments that made it seem as if we hadn't tried everything. So in 2019, I actually traveled with you to ICSC to shop Southwest Atlanta, specifically Campbellton Road. And those formulas that Councilmember Shook was speaking of were very prevalent during that time as well. And that's when we start developing packages that talked about the demographics right outside of Campbellton Road, literally, and talked about how we would change the radius that was used to capture those medians and pulling in different neighborhoods that weren't included on the actual Campbellton package originally before we left for ICSC. I just want to make sure everybody knows that when the light bulb went off and I realized nobody's coming, so we're gonna have to be Atlanta and do it ourselves, that's when the Municipal South idea came up, and I knew that that would be our only possibility at this point, because everyone has their reasons as to why not. So I appreciate everyone having ideas on how it should go, and I appreciate your patience. I really do, because I know that I've been fussing for years now, but the fuss is going to actually have to continue until we've reached our goal, and our goal is just that. It's a grocery store, a market. I'm open to a food hall too. Like, there are a few things that we need on Campbellton Road. I've actually pulled in the person that has done the very successful food halls around the city, and Courtney English actually came to my office to meet with her as well. So what I'm saying, this is year 7. I do not want to sit here next year and have this exact same drumbeat. I just don't.
I hear you loud and clear.
Okay. All right. I'm ready now.
Yes, thank you all so much for being here this morning. I do have concerns as well. I think at some point we were asked exactly what do you want to see in Southwest Atlanta. Neither District 10 or 11 have a breakfast eating spot. At some point we were looking at locations, but it just kind of fell off the radar. 2 large districts in Southwest Atlanta. There's no IHOP, there's no Waffle House, there's no Pancake House, nothing between the 2 districts in Southwest Atlanta. The Beautiful does sell breakfast, only on Saturday, and that just started. So it's disheartening to sit here year after year after year, and our districts look exactly the same. And the development that has been in our districts, we actually brought it ourselves. We went out, found developers. They may have gotten a small incentive from you all, but on Delmar Lane, where nobody wanted to develop, it was the old Sierra Ridge apartments, drug infested. Those investors have put millions of dollars there. And no one has sat down with them and given them any incentive at all. And we look at other districts and we see millions of dollars going there. And in Southwest Atlanta, on Delmar Lane, we have done nothing. We have done nothing for that area. Not one breakfast spot, not one coffee house, nothing in Southwest Atlanta, except 2 apartment complexes that were coming, very small developments, and they were thrown, I would say, crumbs. I am very, very disappointed because we have spoken on several times about just a breakfast spot for those elderly citizens that are aging in Southwest Atlanta, Lyndhurst, Spreading Oak, Bakers Ferry Road. They have to travel outside to Fulton Industrial. And I just do not feel that the vision for Southwest Atlanta is in place. And it's very disheartening because I know that the developers on Delmar Lane have reached out and developed a parcel that nobody wanted to develop on. Those apartments were slated for demolition, and they are absolutely beautiful now. We have not given them one nickel. So when we go out and seek our own developments, I sought them out because I did not want to see a demolished parcel grown up as tall as myself. They have gotten no conversation, no support. We don't have not one coffee house along the M.L. King Jr. Drive corridor. I am extremely, extremely disappointed that there is no vision for Southwest Atlanta. Thank you.
I just want to say that I will ensure that I reach out personally to the developers at Delmar Lane to see what their vision is, see what opportunities are, and if they have any vision to do some sort of mixed use. Because if they do, then we can work with them on the bottom if they're going to build something to attract a grocery store. That'd be first. I'll commit to that. The second is, I hear you loud and clear on the breakfast spots.
You and I talked about the breakfast spot when I was downstairs in constituent services. You and I talked about that, and that was several years ago. Okay. And to no avail, we sit here in these meetings year after year, begging for Southwest Atlanta to have something. Yet we go out and we get our own developers. They come to us, they call us, and then they can't hardly get any incentives. Southwest Atlanta deserves a coffee spot. Now, the one on Cascade, that's South Fulton. That's the city of South Fulton. I am pleading with you all to be balanced. Please be balanced. I mean, Eloisa, you've been in this position, what, 13 years?
This position's 8 years.
8 years? You've been there almost a decade. And Southwest Atlanta looks exactly the same. Not one development, not one. And we've had parcels that the late C.T. Martin tore down in conjunction with the solicitor's office. And you all have done nothing. You have not taken a tour along that corridor to put anything there. Hey, we appreciate Gooder, That's great. But Southwest Atlanta deserves more. Southwest Atlanta deserves more. And as long as we sit in these seats, we're going to champion. We're going to fight for our neighborhoods. We're not going to be silent because it's not fair. They pay taxes and they deserve something from Invest Atlanta.
Agreed. Thank you.
And I'll follow up because I believe there is a coffee shop in Atlanta that is growing a significant amount, and
In Southwest Atlanta?
I want to say it's in
Well,
your.
Buzz Coffee left, Cascade Road. I'm thinking of something more like a Starbucks, you know, like a Starbucks, not just something off the beaten path. But Southwest Atlanta, you have to think about it. We live there. It's not fair. It's not fair. Please treat Southwest Atlanta like you treat other parts of town. You've been here a decade in this position, 8 years. And I've spoken with you about a breakfast spot, just a breakfast somewhere where the elderly and the young can get breakfast, a pancake. Please give Southwest
agree.
Atlanta attention.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
The council president is going to bring it home, and then it'll be lunchtime.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to say to Councilmember Wanwan that I did not ask about Wadata. That was all you, Councilmember, as you know. Thanks for being here. I just have a few questions. One, on the FY25 priorities, there's not anything around affordable housing. Could you just talk about affordable housing and how it fits into 2025?
Yes. Affordable housing is key and central to everything we're doing at Invest Atlanta. It is a key priority, but as I discussed at the beginning, we kind of see economic development, community development on two sides, and since the budget specifically only dealt with economic development, we focused the presentation on economic development. But please, I'm glad you asked. This does not mean that community development, in terms of facade improvement, our affordable housing, the single family loan program, all of those are key and central and priorities for us going forward. But the focus of that slide was only on the economic development side.
And just, again, just so that everybody's clear, same level of activity. Do you see that going up, down, as far as resources around affordable housing, facade improvement, some of those other things?
Yes. Yes.
Up, down, same?
In terms of our programs, so we have right now the housing opportunity bonds that we're deploying. We were able to receive more funding for down payment assistance programs, so we're adding funding there. So yes, we are continually very active going out. Now, we could always use more, as you can imagine, but this is a key priority for the mayor, key priority for us to ensure that we're providing all types of housing. So you'll see from single family to multifamily to even working with the land trust.
Great. On page 25, you touched on the opportunity zones. I'm very familiar with that program. I actually used it back when I was running a company. Just remind everybody generally where the opportunity zones in Atlanta fall so that we can help spread the word on those, just generally where they are.
Yep, and would be happy to give you the maps. 'Cause
Perfect.
we actually have maps that are parceled out. So there still is an opportunity zone in Midtown, although typically opportunity zones are for 10 plus years, and so we're at the end of that. So that area, we have downtown, there's South Downtown, there's Castleberry Hill. There also is there's a number of new opportunity zones that we've actually just applied for. So we've applied for ones on Donnelly Hollowell, on Campbellton Road, in and around the Met, so Ralph David Abernathy, Auburn Avenue is an opportunity zone as well. So there's 5 active opportunity zones in the city, but we've applied for 6 additional ones, and we're waiting feedback from the Department of Community Affairs.
Great.
Just clarity on the opportunities.
Yeah, if you could send us the maps, that'd be great. Oh.
Yep, and just clarity, so the way it works is we apply for these opportunity zones. These are state designated, so the state needs to approve them, but we are being as aggressive as we can.
Great. Is the creative industry support going to continue into 2025 budget? Or is that program on its course?
So with our with the same footprint in terms of headcount. We've focused creative industries in the grocery store space.
Got it.
So there still will be activities that we do, but grocery has taken over that person's primary responsibility.
Got it. Any notions of the AMC site? While I have you, that is something that we know that we have unsheltered populations there, but do we have any sense of programmatically an approach of where we're going with the AMC site right now?
I really have not been involved in that discussion, so I wouldn't be able to answer that question for you.
Small businesses, just talking about them for a minute, one of the things that are happening in a lot of areas of the city are you have a lot of redevelopment of older spaces. The small businesses that have been there basically are offered to stay, but it's a 3-year redevelopment process. The small business can't sustain themselves out of business for 3 years, and a lot of those businesses are going away. We're seeing that on the west side. We're seeing that in Castleberry Hill. We're seeing it in Fourth Ward. We're seeing a lot of parts of the city. Do we have any specific programs, or could we look into specific programs to try to help bridge those small businesses that are basically being displaced by no fault of their own?
Yeah, so in the Wells Fargo program, Noah mentioned that we actually applied for that. We did do what was the first time ever in the city, which was a sort of, if you can imagine, a down payment assistance program for a home. It was a down payment assistance program for a business. Because ultimately, the way we're going to solve the issue is the business has to own their location. Then they're not susceptible to the increases in rents. So we are now coming at the tail end of that. So I'll be able to show how many businesses we've been able to create and then potentially continue that program on into the future. But do think that that is a key ways for us to do that. The second thing is that in some of our own projects now, if we know it's a mixed use, we're asking not only for affordable housing, but we're asking for affordable rents. And for us, that's about 30% below what we're seeing in market rate. And so we have now expanded our affordability requests to housing and commercial space in some of our mixed use projects. So again, that's the way we've been addressing it on everything we touch. Is it an end-all be-all solution? No. Could we be doing more? Yes, we could. But we think that this is at least the things that I have control and I can influence within my tools. We're starting to really push this affordable commercial. The last thing I'll say is that we're really looking to also containers. What can we do? Which is why we're exploring a lot more with Nourish and Bloom to see if there's opportunities, because that is smaller space, gets them along in key locations. And I think, again, directly at the Beltline, they've also been able to do some things with the containers along the trail. So we as a collective have been trying to figure out how we can help to ensure businesses can stay.
Yeah, I really want to underline this point because, I mean, of course, it's fantastic to have small business programs for small businesses, for up-and-coming entrepreneurs. Of course, we need to do that to feed the pipeline. But these are established businesses, right? I mean, I think about a Mazza Pizza, right, on Edgewood in Fourth Ward. This is an established, successful business, been there for several years, employs, many, many people, and it basically is gone because the developer came in, bought the building, to your point, they didn't own the space, and said, we're going to redevelop this, and you can come back in 3 years. And that just doesn't, even for a successful small business, just doesn't work, right? So we know we have a track record. They've got a brand. They've got an employee base. They've got a customer base. To me, really, that as a specific kind of initiative. Because the other thing is, we should lament these businesses that are fabrics of the community, right? That, Highland Bakery is another one, same side of town, that is gone after dozens of years being in that spot. So I think I just want to highlight that because as we see the pressure, and I agree with some of the comments that are made, when interest rates turn, we're going to see a lot of economic activity in the city. You know that, we know that. And I think that this pressure around redevelopment of old spaces that is going to displace successful, thriving small businesses is a real danger. And so I really want to make sure we've got our eye focused on that.
And that's why I think the results of the down payment assistance program, they ultimately have to own their location. Then they're not susceptible to the rent increase.
Yep.
And we think that's a great tool. We've done it with homes. Why can't we do it with businesses, especially some of our legacy businesses?
I agree. Thanks, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. We are in recess, and we will reconvene at 1 o'clock with HR. Thank you, Invest Atlanta.
You're welcome. Thank you.